as we all know, the news media in this country is very anti-gun. As a matter of fact, they absolutely despise our right to keep and to bear arms under the Second Amendment. And usually when they do a piece on the subject of guns, it's of course heavily biased toward the anti-gun side of the spectrum, and they are always pushing that anti-gun agenda. And it's for this reason that I was absolutely stunned when I stumbled across this short clip from KX News out of Bismarck, North Dakota, because the story they did on the subject of guns was actually pretty fair. And believe it or not, for the most part, they did have their facts straight. Now, there are a couple areas where they do need to do more research before they publish a news piece like this, and we'll take a look at those as we go through the clip.
The Second Amendment to the Constitution gives Americans the right to bear arms, and about a third of U.S. adults say they personally own a gun. But many anti-gun activists are calling on our nation's leaders to implement stricter gun laws and even ban some types of guns completely. Kiara Brown breaks down a common misconception about the most popular rifle in America, the AR-15, as we lead local.
This is a semi-automatic rifle, commonly known as an AR-15, created in the 1960s for civilians by the gun company Armalite. This is an automatic rifle, known as a machine gun or an M4. Also created by Armalite in the 1960s, but made for military soldiers. This is an assault weapon. An AR-15 is not.
The military was looking for a new weapon, and they developed the M16. A couple years after that, Armalite decided to make a civilian version of the same rifle, and that's what they put out on the market, was the AR-15. AR stands for Armalite rifle, not assault rifle.
Now, I'm glad that they're kind of going into the history behind the AR in this part right here, because most people out there nowadays are totally ignorant of the history behind the AR, where it came from, where its origins are. And of course, as we know, a lot of people out there who don't do their own research think that AR stands for assault rifle, which of course it doesn't. And I'm glad they're pointing that out here in the clip.
AR-15s have become a powerful political and cultural symbol in America. Mass shootings and gun control debates have divided our country as anti-gun activists demand assault weapons to be banned. But assault weapons have been banned since 1934, when the National Firearms Act was enacted.
Now, that just isn't true. The NFA does not ban full autos. It just makes it very difficult to get your hands on one. Because under the NFA, you can own a full auto if you pay the $200 tax stamp, you do a bunch of paperwork and background checks, the waiting period, all that nonsense. If you go through all that, and if you have the money for one, you can totally go out and buy a full auto. It's just the NFA heavily restricts your right to own a full auto and makes it very difficult to get your hands on one. So they need to do a little more research and check their facts before they go making a statement like that.
They have a magazine that holds anywhere from 5 to 30 rounds in it. And it's a semi-automatic rifle, meaning each time you pull the trigger, a round will fire. But you have to pull the trigger in order for the round to fire. This is the same gun, just in a wood stock. So it looks like it's not scary, as people say, right? But, you know, it's not an assault rifle, it's not an assault weapon, and it's not a weapon of war.
Handguns are the most common weapon types used in mass shootings in the U.S., with 161 different handguns being used in 111 incidents between 1982 and March 2023. Semi-automatic weapons have been used in 58 shootings in those years.
We had guns growing up all the time. We carried them in our vehicles. We did everything. And nobody ever got a gun out of their vehicle and started shooting anybody. So what's happened since, let's call it 1995? What's happened since 1995 to now that people are shooting everybody? I mean, is it guns? The guns haven't changed. The gun laws haven't changed.
Now, of course, the politicians are not willing to put in the time, money, and resources to determine the real reason why people are shooting up everybody within the last 20 or 30 years or so, because all the politicians want to do is use these tragedies to push their anti-gun agenda, so that they can try to disarm us, so they can more easily control us, because a disarmed population is very easily controlled, as history has taught us. So they're not willing to put in the time and money to do the research to determine the real reason behind these shootings that we're seeing. Now, just my personal opinion for why we're seeing all these shootings within the last 20 or 30 years or so. Again, just my personal opinion, take it for what it's worth. I think it's because of the wholesale distribution of psychiatric drugs being handed out by Big Pharma. Because these drugs are altering people's way of thinking, it's altering their minds, and just my opinion is that that is a big contributing factor to what is causing people to go out and do these shootings. Just my personal opinion. What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comment section down below.
Fuller says the best way to ensure safety when dealing with any type of gun is to educate yourself and practice basic gun safety. And whether you own a gun or don't, a basic understanding of guns is always good to know. Kiara Brown, KX News.
Nearly 1 in 24 adults in America owns an AR-15, making the most popular gun in the country.
Now, I really like how they wrapped that news story up by basically telling people, hey, you need to educate yourselves. You need to go learn basic firearms safety so that way you can safely handle firearms, but also just so you're educated and you know what you're talking about when you're going to have a discussion about guns and gun laws and all that kind of stuff. So, great way to wrap up that news story. Now, for the most part, I was very impressed by how they presented this story, with the one exception of them saying that the NFA bans full autos, because like we talked about, that just isn't true. The NFA doesn't ban full autos. It just heavily restricts your right to own a full auto and heavily restricts your access to full autos and makes it very, very expensive to get your hands on one. But other than that, for the most part, this story painted guns in, I thought, a very positive way, and I thought that they did a very good job in their presentation of the story. Now, what did you guys think about this story from KX News? Leave your opinions in the comment section down below. Again, I thought they did a pretty good job overall with the story, and it was just refreshing to see a positive story and a truthful story about guns on a news station for a change. Because like we talked about earlier, the media, the so-called news, is just so saturated with that anti-gun agenda. It was just nice and refreshing to see a actual news story about guns for a change. Now, what did you guys think about this news story? Just doing a reaction to a news story. Do you want to see more content like this in the future? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, show me them firearms. Now, this is absolutely going to tick the government off. But that's kind of the whole point of the Second Amendment, and that's why we love it so much.